Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates, my name is Pranathi Chintalapudi, and I am a youth activist for the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation and Reverse the Trend, speaking on behalf of youth around the globe. We are 90 seconds to midnight. A handful of increasingly belligerent leaders threaten the total annihilation of our world. At the same time, our leaders tell us the fallacy of nuclear deterrence. We teeter on the edge of wiping out our history and our cultures. As youth, we are the ones who will inherit this world, a world afflicted with perpetual conflicts, climate crises, and nuclear threats. Therefore, we call upon our leaders to hear us and act. We must work together. The NPT represents a grand bargain. The non-nuclear armed states agreed not to acquire nuclear weapons, and in exchange, the nuclear armed states agreed to negotiate in good faith toward nuclear disarmament. Unfortunately, all 9 nuclear armed states are modernizing their arsenals. This failure of nuclear armed states to adhere to Article 6 obligations disregards our past and threatens our future. Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates, we are approaching 80 years since the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In Hiroshima, atomic bombs killed 140,000 people by the end of 1945, and another 70,000 people died in Nagasaki. The resulting cancers and radiation-related illnesses killed many more in the decades that followed. As the last generation to hear the first-hand accounts of the hibakusha, we must heed their warnings. Their lived reality mobilizes us to work towards the abolition of nuclear weapons. We cannot achieve a nuclear weapon-free world without nuclear justice, not only for hibakusha, but also for the indigenous people of Australia, French-occupied Polynesia, Kazakhstan, Kiribati, the Marshall Islands, the Southwest United States, and many other unconsenting communities devastated by nuclear testing. The ramifications of 20th century weapons use are still felt today. We demand restorative, procedural, and distributive action that centers environmental remediation and victims assistance for nuclear-affected communities who have historically and disproportionately been indigenous peoples and other marginalized communities. Nuclear-armed states are directly accountable for the ongoing devastation of affected communities. Coupled with disproportionate health effects on women, these tests perpetuate the legacies of colonialism and gender inequality. The ongoing consequences of nuclear testing are a dire warning of what our future could be. A single modern nuclear weapon, which can be thousands of times more powerful than those dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, detonated over a major city, would create an unparalleled humanitarian catastrophe, with hundreds of thousands immediately vaporized and many more left with complex injuries, crumbling infrastructure, and no access to medical care. A nuclear war using less than 3% of the world's nuclear weapons could kill up to every 3rd person on Earth. Despite this looming Armageddon, all 9 nuclear-armed states are modernizing and increasing their arsenals, for a total sum of $91.8 billion in 2023 alone. This wasteful spending, which would be better spent on clean energy solutions, healthcare, education, and more, is stealing from our generation.
Hello, my name is Bobby Verhey from Minnesota in the United States. I'm a youth activist for the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation and its youth initiative, Reverse the Trend. Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, we face a dual threat of nuclear war and the climate crisis. When states use these weapons, including in test, the surrounding environment is bathed in high levels of radiation, degrading land and water, poisoning communities' traditional food sources, and destroying entire ecosystems. While remediation efforts are essential, these efforts do not negate the harm caused to the life of these communities and their environments. The effects of testing emphasize the need for everyone to remember that we cannot have one more nuclear explosion, not now, not ever. Let us be clear. As we make strides towards addressing the climate crisis, leaving potential for nuclear war is a mistake that would undermine these efforts. We can only save the world if we have a world left to save. Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates, in light of the catastrophic humanitarian impacts of nuclear weapons and recent heightened risk of nuclear war, we must act. We urge all NPT states parties to take the following 5 actions. 1, join the TPNW at the earliest date possible to to fulfill your Article 6 obligations and ensure global security, humanitarian and environmental remediation, and prevent catastrophes, and promote international stability. 2, actively support, protect, and participate in the Middle East WMD Free Zone annual conferences, recognizing that disarmament in the Middle East has already begun in full alignment with the 1995 resolution that indefinitely extended the NPT. 3, center the voices of victims and survivors by committing to nuclear justice. This can be done by involving affected communities in all decision-making regarding environmental remediation and victims assistance, as well as supporting the International Trust Fund under the framework of the TPNW. 4, acknowledge the interconnected threats of nuclear weapons and climate change, and pursue disarmament as an essential part of fighting the climate crisis. 5, involve young people, including women and other marginalized communities, in decision-making on nuclear disarmament to harness their perspectives, which are essential for a sustainable and equitable future. States must support youth campaigns like the UN ODA's Not One Nuclear Explosion and include a 20% youth composition in member states' delegations and relevant working groups. We assert our right to shape the future we will inherit and to create a just and sustainable world free from the threat of nuclear weapons. We implore you to take immediate action and work with us to safeguard our shared humanity and the future of this planet. Is either the end of nuclear weapons or the end of life as we know it. We demand that you stand with us, the inheritors of the world being created in this room today, and disarm. Thank you very much.